Thank you all for joining us today as we continue our social media for businesses series in partnership with the Greater Manlius Chamber of Commerce and Fayetteville Free Library. Today we'll be discussing the basics and benefits of editing photos to induce audience engagement. We'll discuss copyright-free photo repositories, so basically places that you can find stock photos, free online tools for editing photos and videos, some techniques and best practices, and resources that we, Manlius Library, offer that can help you get started. There will be time for a Q&A at the end of our presentation, and then we'll need to collectively determine what we'll be discussing on July 27th next month.
Great. Well, thank you guys for putting this together.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yep. And so since Stephanie's the one who's running the presentation, so she'll be doing the slides. So I guess, next slide. Good. And I guess one more slide, sorry. Okay. So stock photos are professional photographs of common places, landmarks, nature, events, or people. These photos can be used and reused for commercial design purposes on a royalty-free basis. And stock photos are used because they're convenient, they save time. And instead of hiring a photographer to shoot custom photos for you, they're already created, edited, and ready for use, and there's millions of options available out there. Next slide. Thank you. Stock photos are legal to use as long as they're labeled for commercial use. So you can use stock photos in multiple designs and projects with for-profit purpose. You can use them on your website, social media, and also in other forms of marketing and advertising. And that label of commercial use is key. If you see that an image is labeled for editorial use only, these images cannot be used to promote your business. These images can contain logos, business names, and recognizable people. Otherwise, you could theoretically put up a picture of Jim Boeheim on your social media and therefore imply that he's endorsing your business. So if images are not explicitly labeled, they're likely intended for commercial use. Luckily, there are many sites online that solely contain images for commercial use, and I'll highlight a couple of my favorite sites in a few slides after I discuss use restrictions more in depth, highlight some pros and cons of stock photos. I'm sorry, I guess that I did mine out of order here, so could we go back one? Thank you. Okay, so there are pros and cons to using stock photos. Stock photos are convenient, they're easy to download, and you often don't have to edit the photo further. The majority of what little time you'd need to spend is on searching for the picture. Another major pro for stock photos is that they're high quality. Most stock photography websites follow strict requirements when accepting images. So there are specific standards for color, lighting, resolution, and some other factors. So in that sense, the photos that you're looking for, they come pre-vetted in terms of quality. And of course, they're affordable. There are some options for paying for stock photos out there, but you can find many high quality images for free online. And even if you do decide that you'd want to pay for stock photos, the cost of buying these photos is typically cheaper than hiring a professional photographer. Now moving to the cons of using stock photos. One con of using stock photos is their non-exclusivity. Since they're so accessible, it's likely that the photos you choose to use will also be used by other companies, and this can hurt in terms of uniqueness and authenticity, as specific photos can usually be found on multiple sites at a time. They're also often like lowest common denominator from a marketing standpoint. Like you can kind of see from the slide that I'm using here, like it fits for pros and cons, but it's pretty basic. So they're typically designed to have the widest appeal, and that generality can lead to your selections actually like being so vague that they're inaccurately representing your brand. And another possible drawback of using stock photos is, as I mentioned earlier, that array of licensing restrictions, which is your responsibility to understand before incorporating an image into your brand. But luckily, these restrictions are typically straightforward and easy to understand. Okay, so now next slide. Thank you. The default type of selling, or the default license type for selling stock images is the royalty-free license. It allows flexibility for the designer that an image only needs to be purchased once for use in unlimited applications. There are some license limitations. You can't create like a derivative product from using the image. So like one where the image forms part of the product's reason for existence, like a poster, a calendar, or a t-shirt. And for that, you need to purchase what's called a royalty-free extended license. But since most of you guys would be running smaller businesses, you'd probably want to focus on using images that fall either in the public domain or under the umbrella of Creative Commons licenses. So Creative Commons licenses are a series of license types that help photographers easily license their work, which allow photographers to protect their work and still provide free image use. Images that fall under these licenses always require a credit to the image creator. And public domain images can just be used however you like. Anyone can use them however they like. Okay, next slide. Okay, so Pixabay is a great resource. It's what we typically use at Manlius Library for our website. All contents are released under the Pixabay license, which makes them safe to use without asking for permission or giving credit to the artist, even for commercial purposes. Over the past year, I've used dozens of Pixabay images for our website and e-newsletters. There's a lot to choose from. They have nearly 2 million unique images, and their catalog is constantly being updated. So it's pretty simple. You just search for the type of image you're looking for, select your image, and download it. You even have the choice for several different image sizes to pick from. Bigger image sizes have more pixels and are more detailed, but they do take longer to load in a web browser. Next slide. Unsplash is another great resource filled with images that are free to use. They have over 1 million high-resolution photos. Their photos are generally pretty attractive and eye-catching, and all of their content, any Unsplash photo falls under the Creative Commons 0 license. So you can use and alter any image for any personal or commercial use without being required to give credit to Unsplash or the photographer, though it is always nice to give credit where credit is due. Given the quality and versatility of the photos, Unsplash has a catalog that is worth exploring, at least in my opinion, and you can't beat free. Next slide. So just to give you a glimpse of what's out there beyond a couple of solid free options, Shutterstock and PhotoCase are both excellent options if you're looking for more selection, the highest quality of images, and are willing to pay to use stock images. Shutterstock is one of the largest catalogs on the web. They have nearly 200 million images, which makes for a seemingly infinite variety in content. Their royalty-free images can be purchased a la carte or via a subscription model. Shutterstock also offers a 30-day free trial and currently has a promotion in which new users can get 10 free images, so that might be something worth looking into. And then PhotoCase is a German-based platform They have a curated collection of images with a defined aesthetic, which may be worth looking into if you're looking to establish a consistent theme in the persona of your business's digital image. It's the closest that stock photos get to the cutting edge, and it's highly regarded in the advertising industry. Their photos are sold on demand only, starting at $14 an image, and I think that the max is like $42 an image, and all images are royalty free. My personal feeling is that free resources like Pixabay and Unsplash offer more than enough variety and quality to meet the needs of most businesses, but what option is best for you and your business is a question that only you can answer. Next slide. Okay, so some best practices for using stock photos. Give credit, so make sure you give credit where credit is due. Before you use an image, you need to ensure that you understand the licensing agreement, make attributes where appropriate. Even when it isn't required, it's nice for artists to get shout outs when you do use their work. Choose photos to keep users engaged. Before you add a photo to your post, ask yourself this: is this photo helping to tell the story of my post? If it doesn't feel like it fits or is adding value to your post, it's probably not the best choice. Engagement is huge in social media. Anything that causes your users to be confused by your message carries the potential to lose them. Number 3, consider your image. So when choosing your photos, try to think about your business and what are the buzzwords that your customers would use when describing your brand. Social media images really can help change or cement your brand's image in the minds of your customers. And it's also good to try to make changes if possible. This helps you kind of make them your own. It can obviously only be done with images that are licensed to allow alterations, but cropping photos, making a color image into a black and white image, or using a special filter are all examples of simple alterations that can be made. And if you make similar alterations consistently, you can effectively brand your social media, so people will recognize your alterations and quickly identify your business on sight of that photo. And then another thing to consider is to make sure that you're picking the best photo, not necessarily the most popular one. The photo that tells your story the best isn't necessarily going to be on the first page of results. This isn't say that it's bad to just pick a photo that's popular, but it's ideal to use a photo that isn't used by a lot of people so that you can set your business apart. Next slide. Okay, so all this gas bagging about stock photos notwithstanding, there are other options than using stock photos. Could use a photo that you take yourself. Just speaking from a customer's viewpoint, I always find it helpful when I'm looking at going to a business for the first time and I see a picture of the business's storefront in the header on Facebook or on their website, so that I'll be able to know what I'm looking for, recognize it from the street. If you have any special inventory, taking pictures, it's hugely important for marketing your items as well. So my sister runs an antique shop in the Southern Tier, and lately over half of her business is just coming straight from pictures she's posting on Facebook. She's getting some direct sales that way. And another possibility is creating an infographic. So infographics can create imagery and text, and those combine to create a visually memorable message effectively. Canva, which I believe Leah mentioned a couple weeks ago, and I know Stephanie is going to discuss more in depth later in this presentation, is a great resource for creating infographics. Illustrations are also effective. You could find a local contractor or a local student to do this work for you. It may be worth advertising at a local college for a student graphic designer looking for some professional experience at a lower rate than a professional, but you do have to pay the minimum wage. I think that that's just about it for me. Yeah, so even though it's important to avoid cliches in social media, I can't resist using one to close my portion of the presentation. In this case, picture is worth 1,000 words. And it's important to remember that when picking imagery that helps build the identity of your business. While you shouldn't rely on stock photos entirely for your brand's imagery, they can provide a useful utility in fleshing out your online presence. So now I will get out of the way and turn the presentation over to Stephanie, who has some awesome tools to show y'all.
Thanks. I'm going to talk about some different software that I typically use, but this is certainly not an exhaustive list. There's a lot out there that you should try. And many of these come with a free version that gives you all the capabilities that you'll need to start out, and you can experiment with them. And then there's often a paid version if you find that, you know, what you get for free isn't enough. So some things to think about before you start creating social media for your site or for your social media. You want to try to look into what competitors are doing, or just, you know, to learn from others. Read what you wrote out loud, and also get a second opinion whenever you can. Create a style guide. I know at Manlius Library we have, you know, a certain font we use for certain types of media, and then we have our logo that goes with the font. And so and your style guide should also include colors and everything as well. Schedule posts ahead. Most of these social media apps will let you stack up a bunch of posts, and then you can just send them all out at once. And you definitely want to make sure you have good lighting for your photos and videos if you're taking them yourself. And you know, if you're using stock images, you don't have to worry about it as much. The first one software I want to talk about is Pablo by Buffer. I just recently discovered this. It's super easy to use to create just like a quick image. You can search for the type of image you want, and it does a search within other websites such as Pixabay. And there's only one workflow to when you're using it. You pick the image, and then you pick the size. You can see on the right it has sizes, Facebook and Twitter and so on. And then you can pick filters, text, and then you can insert your own company's logo if you want. And then you just share and download it. It shares directly to your social media. The next one is Stencil. Is a cloud-based graphics creation tool. It's also fast and easy to use. You can kind of quickly create social media posts and graphics. So as you can see on the left, there's some different graphics that you can choose from. It doesn't have much variety in terms of templates. So it's just sort of basic. If you want to pick, you know, one template image and then a font, you can and do that quickly, but there isn't as much variety. And also the other nice thing about it is that it gives you a social media preview. See on the bottom right, it says preview and share. And so you can see what it will look like and if your image will be cut off, because the thing to remember too is that a lot of people are looking at these images on different devices. And so something that's important to you might get cut off on a certain type of device, like a phone or whatever. All right, the next one is Canva. This one I've used extensively. For posters and for social media, they have a large amount of templates for just about everything, social media, websites, blogs, everything. And you can choose the right size as well. It's all preloaded in there, or you can change the size to what you need. And it lets you upload your own images. So, and you can also, it'll let you pre-select colors. So if you have a color scheme, you can tell it like, these are my colors I always want to use, and you can use that regularly for your fonts and everything. And the other nice thing about it is it will save your content for you. So every time you go back in, it'll be, something you've already worked on will already be in there. Photopea is a lot like Photoshop, but it's free to use online. It's great for simple edits, and it supports layers as well, which is really convenient. I haven't used it a lot myself, but one of the things I found that I like is that it has guides. So if you're creating something for a Facebook page, say, you can add guides to show you, to, like move guides so that it'll show you where it'll get cut off. Whether your image will get cut off or your text will get cut off, if that's, so that's very convenient. And you can save your files as a PSD, which lets you open it in Photoshop. And it uses the same shortcuts as Photoshop, and it has basic filters and other like overlays and things. Pixlr is one I've used a lot, and I'm going to do a demo of it later. It's sort of like Photoshop, and there are two versions basically. There's Pixlr X, which is a simpler editing app for doing like quick edits, or just for beginners if you're just starting out with this and you want to start simple. It has 12 basic tools such as cropping and filters. And then Pixlr E is more robust. It has 34 separate tools. You can eliminate red eye, create shapes, and blur and soften your photos. And both of these allow layers as well. Adobe Spark is a suite of mobile and web tools for creating content, including social media and videos. But for the videos, it's a separate app, but it's still called Adobe Spark. They are user-friendly, and they offer a variety of design templates for different types of media, and there's a mobile app available for them. All right, and then GIMP and Inkscape, you might be familiar with. GIMP is a free open source program that works as an alternative to Photoshop. It's a little more complicated to use. The interface is complicated to use, but once you get used to it, it's not terribly hard, and it does create really great images. And then Inkscape is an illustrator tool. So if you want to create a logo or some other illustration, you can using Inkscape, and they're both always free and always open source. So, but if you're hoping to have like easy to use drag and click and templates, this does not have that. And you load it into your computer, you have to download it. So it's not a web-based program. All right, and then iMovie and Windows Movie Maker are the apps that come with or likely come with your device. If you have an Apple, you probably are already familiar with iMovie, or at least you know that you have it in all likelihood. And it has an easy to understand interface. It includes filters and layers for iMovie, and you can put in titles and everything you need for your videos. And then Windows Movie Maker is the equivalent, and it's easy to use, and you can drag in the videos into your storyboard, but it doesn't do layers in the same way that iMovie does. So if you want more of a nuanced way to use it in terms of like, I have my movie here, and then I have another part of the movie, and then I have my sound down here, the way iMovie does, Windows Movie Maker is not really great for that. But if you're just making short videos that you want to put on Facebook or something, then this is a great solution. And the last one that I want to show you is DaVinci Resolve, which is free, and it has all the features you would need to create longer videos, but it is a little harder to use, like harder to get used to using. You have to kind of learn as you go. There is a lot of information out there that you can read about it. But what's great about it is that, and this is also one that you have to download to your computer, but what's great about it too is that the free version is really all you'll ever need for making social media videos. The paid version is does have a few more features that you might want to consider using, but unless you're making like big time movies, you probably won't need the software that it includes. And the other nice thing about it is there's only one-time fee, unlike other software like Adobe Premiere, which is great and does a lot of the same things, but then you have to pay a monthly fee. So that's something to think about. All right, and I'm just gonna switch gears here for a moment and share. There we go. Okay, so this is what the Pixlr website looks like, and it's just pixlr.com. And here's the advanced to get into, and then this is the playful one. And they're both free. I'm going to use the easier to use playful one. So you can see there are ads usually right away that will pop up. And the other cool thing about it is they'll keep track of your history for you. So, I mean, you notice I didn't log in or anything. It just remembers from the last time I used it. All right, so I'll click create new, and then you can search from, use one of the pre-formatted sizes, but a Facebook image is 1200, the shared Facebook image is 1200 by 630, so you can just go over here to the right and change it. And then you can add a background, color if you want, or you can leave it transparent. Okay, so first I'll find an image. You can browse your own images from your computer, use a URL, or use one of their stock photos. So, building. So, and then click add to current, or you can create new from here, but then the size will be different. So just, there it goes. Okay, so clearly now it's too big. So you can just move it down and resize it. And it's very easy to click and drag it to where you want it. Okay, so the next thing I want to see if it will work is cutout. And what that will do is if you want to remove something from the image, so like say I want to get rid of this blue sky, so I go to cutout, and then you can try magic cutout and make sure it's on remove, and you can change the tolerance, the softness and everything, and then just click the area that you want it to get rid of. It doesn't always work as well as you want it to. As you can see, there's still a little bit of blue sky, but you can always try different methods. There's a brush to remove things, or you can choose a better image with a different contrast. But for this, I think this is good enough for our demo here. Okay, and then the other features are adjust, where you can change the color and the light, filter, which has a filter like dehaze or sharpen. There's effect, which gives you like these different, you can change it like that, or liquify, which lets you push and pull it so that if you want to change the shape somehow. And then there's retouch, so you can sharpen, blur, and that sort of thing. And then finally drawing, which lets you just draw on the image. So say I want a shape, I can choose the color of my shape and oh, I'm not on a new layer. Okay. And that's where layers come in really convenient, because I can just move it, you know, in the order I want on the right here, you can see. Okay, and then T is text, and that's easy to do. You can just type in any kind of text you want, and you can change the font easily. And you can change the color. It's too big. And then this is for elements. A lot of these elements are, you have to pay for them, but there are free ones. So I know like a lot of the borders I've tried to look at, and you have to pay for them, and you can tell by when you click in them, they have this little gold thing that says premium, and then if you click that, it'll ask you to pay. So if that's something that is important to you, you think you want these images, you can consider paying, but I know there are some free ones. Like here, I can add a little cup and change, and then I can change the layer so it's behind the cup, and that's it. I can add another image if I want. You can change, if you decide like you don't want the transparent part to still be transparent, you can easily change that by going up here to properties and then turn on the background. So it's very easy to use. Oh, and then I'll just close that. But so the last thing you can do is save it. And JPEG is usually a good size for social media, but as you can see, when I click JPEG, it gets rid of the transparent part, which might not matter to you. If you're putting it on Facebook, it's fine because that's going to be a white image anyway. But if you're using it for a website and you want your website's background thing to be there, then you might want to keep it as a PNG. But otherwise, all you do is select the file type and click download, and then save it where you want it. Yeah. So, okay. Now go back to this. All right, so that is the end of mine. And now we'll go on to Pam. We'll talk about what the library offers for you.
Okay, what the library offers. Next slide, please. So there's two areas. There's in-house resources, which include books, and we also have laptops, most especially the MacBook Pro, which has a full Adobe suite, including Photoshop, as well as the Premiere that Stephanie had mentioned. That is something that you would have to use in the library. So right now, it's not something we could lend to at this point, but it is something that would be good to use in the future. As far as books go, there's quite a few dealing with social media, the new rules of marketing and PR, how to use social media, online video, mobile application, blogs, news releases, and viral marketing to reach buyers directly. There's also likable social media, how to delight your customers, create an irresistible brand, and be amazing on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, and more. Then there's other books that dealing with social media, but as well, there's also books dealing with digital photography. So you can also look to see if that's something that you want to get into. There's the iPhone photographer, there's Essential Photography Workbook, and those are areas, if you decided not to go with the stock photos or with the other apps, if you wanted to do it on your own, this would be a way to go. In addition, there's e-resources. So there's ebooks, e-audiobooks, and databases dealing with both social media and digital photography. one of the ones that looks really like it'd be very interesting would be Instagram Power. That's build your brand and reach more customers with the power of pictures. There's also digital photography for dummies, digital SLR cameras and photography for dummies. Then there's digital photography facts, and those are all ebooks. So can we do next slide? Thank you. So as far as in-house goes, you can just visit manlashlibrary.org, and you can use the search box to search within our database, which is Polaris. And you can search by subject or title, and you can search for books and magazines, and also the MacBook Pro is also available. You can see that that's listed in our database as well. Next slide. And then as far as e-resources, there's Libby and Hoopla. So Libby is a database that's put together by Overdrive, and you can search that by subject. You can find ebooks and e-audiobooks through that. And so I listed PC Magazine, but you can also find Macworld as well. And they keep, I think, the last usually 6 to 12 months issues of those magazines. And that's something, if you don't have that account, we can easily help you set that up. Same goes for Hoopla. Hoopla is a streaming database, and that you can search by subject, and that also has ebooks and e-audiobooks. Both of these are, once you get using them, they're really straightforward and easy to use. And it's kind of nice to be able to, we've been really promoting them a lot during this whole pandemic because it's another way to get resources without stepping foot out of your house.